egos have always been at the center of Hollywood, but at least they used to have one because they were successful. And yet, at a time when Netflix has decided to bring back old movies, because it's not like they're getting any quality out of the new ones, and yet now we get creators and writers looking back on the original source material, thinking it's lame, destroying it, and they haven't even had any experience, let alone success before. The media doesn't help when it hypes them up. How Echo director Sidney Freeland turned the pressure cooker of Marvel into a historic series. What was it historic for? Losing a load of money? Being the first series that got yeeted out the door at record speed in the hope that nobody noticed.
What are you going to do to stop the crazies?
Having the most annoying audio quality out of any Marvel series.
And who love you.
Or at least series that I've watched in... No, probably series that I've watched. We just cut out the audio randomly. That'll be fun. Or where actors think that their face is so important that you have to destroy the source material in the series itself. This is about Halo, but it could really just be about anything where they have to wear a mask. Fans really want Master Chief to put his helmet back on, and yet Pablo himself said, one thing I learned very early on is that there's many different options in the Halo universe, immediately giving himself an out. Oh, there's many different options, so I'm just gonna make up one more. It doesn't matter if I destroy the character, there's many different options, I'm just adding to the options, while only giving you one choice. Obviously, you're not going to be able to please everybody. Or when it comes to people who like the games, anybody. We are tailoring an entertainment experience that tailored to the medium that it's for. Yes, what the common plebeians don't realize is that that's just one of those pesky video games, you know, one of the things that the children care about. But now I'm an adult, I'm an auteur, I am an actor, an artist. And that means you've got to see my face.
And now they're hunting us. Let McKee try.
I wouldn't be seen dead in a video game, but as an actor... Well, obviously, the plebeians wouldn't understand this complex medium. Mate, you stand in front of a camera and lie for a living. Complex career it ain't. And he goes on, when you play a first-person shooter, the character is developed very differently than when you're making long-form television. If you want to go on a journey with your protagonist, you're gonna have to bring them along. Access to a character's face. It tells you how they're feeling, how they think. Access to a character's emotional life.
When you walk into the battlefield, John must no longer exist.
Is what makes you empathize and connect with a character.
Only the Master Chief.
There is absolutely no way that anyone could empathize with a character who's wearing a mask.
It's time to have a look at your face. Take off your mask.
No.
It's never happened before in all of human history.
Beneath this mask there is an idea, and ideas are bulletproof.
Yes, I mean, video games are one thing, but in a movie, you can't actually care about a character or like a character that's wearing a mask. It can't happen.
So relax. Cavalry's here.
Pablo and his incredibly high IQ has told you so.
It's complicated. I removed my helmet, and now I'm in apostate.
Oh, sorry, that's Pedro, not Pablo. Although I couldn't empathize with him because the actor's a deranged bint, not because of the mask. I'm sorry, but it's the only choice for storytelling in television. And what I would say to anybody who disagrees with that, I respect your opinion, but it's pretty basic. I absolutely respect your opinion, but if you think it, you're an idiot. You just don't understand the basics of television. But it's a pretty basic place to start when you're talking about making a television show of quality. And if you only need to remove your helmet in a TV show of quality, I've seen Halo Season 1. You could definitely have kept it on.
The left leg servo's out of spec. Take out his knee. Knee.
Of course, the most surprising thing about Pablo saying any of this is the very idea that you need to see Pablo's face in order to embrace him as a character and his emotion. Pablo's like Echo, he's only got one expression.
You have access to the entirety of human knowledge, isn't that right?
With room to spare.
You're going to come along here with your diatribe about how you need to see a character's face to see what they're thinking. Firstly, mate, you might want to have a thought.
What is it you like?
Nuts.
And second, at least have two expressions you can flip through.
The only way to know.
The artifact could kill you.
There really is no point in seeing your face when your face moves as much as a mask does anyway.
Nuts.
But at least before, there used to be actors that people would actually respect. Maybe it's because social media didn't tell us how bad they really were. But even so, if you're going to try and claim the high ground that you know so much about making an incredibly important TV series that really ropes the audience in with feeling, could have at least have like, been making one. Instead of a world where you made something terrible and then didn't get employed again, which is what you'd expect in a profit-making entertainment business.
Coders, come and try us, we the
Actors don't tend to be judged on their quality or their major successes, their previous work. Instead, they get judged on their identity, their category. I'm attracted to all kinds of inclusive sets and stories that were once rare on TV and film.
So, what do you think?
I think it's a beautiful lie.
That's because they were judged on their quality, not being inclusive. Now she's combining her love for a creative challenge and people on the margins with big budget resources. Now this may just be me and my limited business acumen, but it doesn't seem like a great business model to make something for people on the margins, who are by definition a micro niche, and then spend big budgets on them. When your movie has a tiny audience, it needs a tiny budget. That's the only way it can be successful. But instead, we are replacing things such as a proven history of success with inclusive people on the margins. That's how you end up with people like Alakwa Cox, whose only acting experience is from Hawkeye and then got their own series. And yet, just like Halo, has one expression for the entire series. A close-up of her eyes with absolutely no expression on her face. And we synchronize! I'm menstruating nitroglycerine! This was part of the inclusive push to include people on the margins who may be over there for a reason. For instance, if you're an actor and you need to say lines, you should be able to speak. If you're an actor and you want to do fight scenes, you're going to need both legs. If you're an actor and you need to hear people talk, you should be able to hear. All of these are basic aspects of being able to do the job, and yet in modern times, they are not just ignored, they are raised up on a pedestal, forced into positions that they can't do, all in the name of being virtuous.
That doesn't make any sense.
Alakwa says Maya can do stunts. Maya is an amputee, and she's deaf. Usually, that's looked down upon. They can't do this. They can't do that. That's not people looking down on them. That's because they can't do it. This is an objective fact of reality. Maya is a badass. She can beat those top-level guys. She could go up against Daredevil and Kingpin, but she wouldn't be able to.
You stupid woman with your weird child!
This destroys the believability of the universe because you want to virtue about something in real life that doesn't exist in real life because it's nonsensical. When somebody is deaf and an amputee and can stand up to Daredevil, unless they have something like an advanced cybernetic leg, it makes Daredevil look like an idiot. And all of this contributes to ego. It contributes to the idea that you're untouchable.
We evolved to a place where we were properly representing the people that the story's about.
Do you speak the language? Does it matter?
Does it matter?
Do you eat the food? Does it matter?
I mean, you never got into your position by deserving it. You got into it by who you are, by what you were born as. This means that your success, your value, doesn't come from your actions. It comes from within you. You were always this. You always deserved success. This is something you are owed by fact of birth.
Way to set feminism back a few decades.
Based economy.
Is it any wonder that develops an ego? I was always great even when I popped out as a sprog. I was destined for this by genetics.
You have the boy's magic.
No, this magic belongs to no boy.
That also means that you don't have to try. Why would you try, go the extra mile? Why would you ever be grateful for something? Why would you work to improve so that you can go on to have more success, which will then compound on that success? You are always this way. Your success is internal. It's just the way you are.
I take responsibility.
Responsibility.
Well, some have benefits, others have original sin. It means you've got nothing to strive for, no future advancements to make. What does it matter if the story sucks? People aren't here for the story, we're here for all the categories we've included. That's where the success is. The success is in the people. So when the director of Echo comes out, she says, I've read comic books at powwows, but those two things have never overlapped. So to have those two things together is a very surreal experience. For her. Not for anyone else. No one else cares. And if they do care, then they're at the margins, in their very small numbers that aren't commercially successful.
Really? Because your birth certificate says you were born.
Don't use his dead name.
But the money doesn't matter because they get paid anyway, and the success is built into the setting. I'm a trans Navajo filmmaker, and you would think that with Marvel, the restrictions and parameters would be greater. But I've had the most creative freedom on this show than any other TV show I've done to date. I felt absolutely empowered and creatively protected. I was free to put my stamp on this. Echo is 100% her fault.
I'm not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work.
Given entire creative freedom to put what she cared about into the TV show. And what she cared about was powwows. People on the margins and inclusive things, such as an actress who can't talk, can't speak, has one leg, and is American. This is by far the biggest thing I've done budget and reshoot-wise. If you filmed it right the first time, you wouldn't need to do the reshoots. Why are we bragging about how big our reshoots were? It's a 5-episode series. She was accepted into Arizona State University where she studied computer animation, which clearly is all the qualifications you need to make a TV series. When she graduated, she focused her research on people in Ecuador, and then was introduced to the Navajo and their 3rd and 4th genders. After that, Freeland went off the reservation. Well, I'm surprised it hadn't happened before.
Just means that our stories are worth telling, and I think the success review-wise of our film shows that our stories are worth telling.
This is someone whose entire life was based around, I want to study my own identity. It doesn't have any hint of narcissism in it at all, does it? I'm going to do a degree in me. Yes, if I ever want to go and do a degree, I'm definitely going to do it in studying tea, followed by doing a master's on whether jam or cream goes on a scone first. Perfectly possible to employ people who are egotistical and want to write about themselves, but those people would have had to have lived a life that other people looked up to. It would have to be a life that other people could relate to. It can't be a life based around a tiny fraction of the population that has nothing to do with the rest of the population.
I'm an American! I'm an American!
Especially in a Marvel TV series, where you're not just talking about American audience, you're talking about an international audience. But so at least then, if you base it around a general American story, then it's applicable enough to people in the West that they can get it. But you base that around a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, to where you're taking a tiny subsect of the population and then reducing that to deaf people who can't talk with one leg, who were also this. And quite frankly, I don't know who you think your audience is. Alakwa got this part with no experience, because at the end of the day, how many other competitors could there have been? If you recruit from a tiny little pool, then even the best person in that tiny little pool is very unlikely to be as good as a significant proportion of the actors from a much larger pool.
I love that you never make any effort at all.
And yet, that's all Freeland seems to know how to do. She has a desire to talk about American people, but that's all she does. She did it with Drunk Town's finest, navigating the trenches of TV, directing all kinds of diverse stories that she's intensely attracted to, and then has the nerve to say, I actually enjoy the restrictions. They have a predefined sandbox, but then you find ways to play within it. I really enjoy restrictions, except in Echo, because her powers are lame. Not gonna have the restrictions there. Oh, she can read lips in the comics? She can't in the TV series. No, that's lame. Why should she have to do anything to make other people comfortable around her? Obviously, the entire world should bend to her will, just like the audience is forced to be subjected to substandard entertainment, just so we can experience what it's like not to hear. I'll give you a hint what it's like. It's very annoying. She took ASL classes because you'd have to tell Alakwa to add more emotion to her acting, which is the first part of this article that has actually made sense. She's the main character. Even when filming, they would tell the camera actors to keep rolling or don't cut through ASL. That's not a lot of pissing use, is it? You're there looking through a screen and someone's over here wiggling the fingers. It's a lot easier if you just say it, love. They've got ears. We got one deaf person on the set. That means everybody else has to change what they're doing in order to cater to them. The ego, the narcissism, the desire to feel like you're helping somebody, the savior complex. No matter the damage it does to the entertainment.
We gotta be smart about this.
This carpet is a person with feelings.
Because I studied this. This is my life. This show is all about me and my heritage, and that makes it important. In Halo, this show is all about me, my face, and you have to see my face, because otherwise this show would be a shadow of its former self, because my incredible face, the emotion that you see on my face,
collected, cataloged, and filed for instant retrieval.
Great. Has to be viewed. It's not about vanity. It's not about ego. No, this is about art. And I wouldn't mind if it was good. I wouldn't mind if your life was so entertaining that it made a good TV series. But the issue is, you're taking source material from somewhere else, which is interesting enough to be a TV series, and then you're running it through you. We're getting quality material run through a cesspool, and then wondering out why it comes out covered in shit. Because if you want to make something from source material, you have to realize it's not about you. You have to realize it's about the original source material, the people that made it, the ideas that attracted people to it in the first place. And that requires humility. That requires you to realize that you're irrelevant, and it's not about you. That nobody really cares who's under the suit in Halo. They shouldn't be seeing his face in the first place. That your job as an actor is to turn into Master Chief, not turn Master Chief into you.
Tell me why I should trust you.
And what happens when you get so obsessed by this idea that you put yourself so much into the work that it's about your life. Not only do you get self-inserts, but you really, really take things personally. In She-Hulk, they made the entire series about delivering an FU to toxic Marvel trolls. As a cast, it was delightful sending each other these troll responses like, oh my god, give them a week and they're going to literally see this pop up verbatim in the show and become the villains of the show. It was thrilling. The writers of She-Hulk made the show about themselves.
Sorry, I'm sad and lonely.
The hiring process about themselves.
God, is this why they hired me? But now everyone around here is gonna think this is the only reason I got the job. It's so unfair.
Is it unfair? Because that is literally the only reason you got the job. The realization that they were hired for their identity rather than the quality of their work, and the negative impact it had on them was all put in the show.
I should be able to enjoy it. I just got an amazing new job and I can't.
When you put that much of yourself, when you write yourself into the show, no wonder you take it personally when the criticism comes out and you have a desire to hit back. The issue is, you putting yourself in the show is the problem in the first place.
There was a lot of eating. There was a lot of food.
But you also don't have enough IQ to realize that, which means you just think that they don't like you. And when you are literally putting your real-life writer's room into a Marvel TV show, we are way past self-insert here. But their idea was that nobody should be able to comment on this. And if you did comment on it, then you were just a toxic troll. You were the villain, because they should be able to put themselves into the show. They should be able to take source material and twist it so much that it's just them in a TV show. But heaven forbid you actually criticize it. Because if you do, you're the villain. You're evil. And is there any better proof of an insurmountable ego than somebody makes a show all about themselves and then thinks you're evil if you don't like it? Like, how could you not like me? I'm so amazing. And then you dare to go into interviews and claim that other people have a sense of entitlement. To even exist is an FU. I love that. She-Hulk got destroyed because they were obsessed with themselves. They couldn't imagine a more entertaining experience than their own lives. With Barbie, Jodie Foster says the 1.4 billion success has changed everything in Hollywood. We've been destroying the entire industry on this altar for years, but now it's changed everything, folks. We've had one success, and that proves that we have to double down even harder. In the old days, they saw women as a risk. I'm not sure why, we're the majority of the population, but that thinking has changed now. They gave Greta Gerwig the keys to the kingdom, and all the money to support it. That's new for women. Did you see what she did there? Did you see what she valued out of that statement? The lessons that she and Hollywood took from it. It's that, well, a woman made it. It's about the identity. They didn't look at Barbie and think, well, what was the messages in Barbie that was different to all the other stuff we've been trying for years? Is it in the superhero movies we tell them they're strong and empowered and they're in control of everything? If they don't like something, they can change it. And that means they're accountable and responsible for their own lives. If they don't like their life, well, they always had the power to change it. Or Barbie, where it said, actually, everything's against you, nothing's your fault, and it's all those pesky menfolk over there that are to blame. Yes, you've been oppressed for thousands of years. Obviously, there's no way you could have coped. Blame the menfolk. At no point in her tiny little mind did she even begin to consider the implications of the story, or the messages within it, the values, which may have actually made an audience like it, may have made them feel something. Instead, it was all about what's between their legs. How can this benefit me personally? Which group am I in? Can I exploit to get my career higher up in the ladder? That's why she framed it around women directors, and I hope it continues, because she is a director and is never going to play Barbie. The progression or bettering of our audiences translates into a kind of new thinking. We're leaving the past behind. Those pesky ideas are pathetic, but after changing our audience, getting rid of the pesky men and ushering in the new progression, well, now our audience is better. They have a new kind of thinking. She said when it comes to progression in Hollywood, you have to be patient. How much longer do you think you've got to be patient for? Your industry is barely surviving. It's losing money on so many movies because of your ideas. This year, we saw a lot of representation, which is important. Why? We never talk about why it's important. We just state it like a religious fact. It's not enough that we just see faces. Now we have to go more. For Americans, for example, we have to represent Americans in Hollywood. Americans are in Hollywood. Not a lot of centered stories. Why would you center a margin? It doesn't make any sense, a margin is by definition on the edge. If you take the margins of a page and move them into the center, you don't have a page anymore. Even your own metaphors don't make any sense, love. The person telling the story wasn't the point of view, but my show takes us to the next level about American issues from an American perspective. It's all about me. I'm doing this. We need more of this. We need more of it. I mean, I'm doing it, so you should employ me to make more of it, and my bank balance should go up. My bank balance is like a universal measure of morality. The bigger it is, the more moral Hollywood is. You need to employ me, because I'm doing this. We need to do this, and I'm doing it. I should be doing more of it. And we saw it on The Witcher, where even if we don't make the show about themselves, we are so convinced with our own creative genius takes over The Witcher so much that Henry Cavill had to leave because he cared about the original source material. He didn't want to put him in the work. It wasn't about his face that needed to be shown over this. I need to make the show about me. No, instead, he was so into the source material, so into The Witcher, that he was desperate to be into the part so that he could bring what he loved to life. But they weren't interested because it wasn't the story of The Witcher. It wasn't the story of Geralt. It was their story that they wanted to tell, and they wanted to tell it about the strong empowerment of Ciri. Henry was the restraining belt, keeping them tied to the law, and now he's gone. You can imagine what future series are going to be like, if they happen at all, because we've seen the story that she wants to tell. We've seen what happens when she's left her own devices. You end up with Blood Origins. 13% audience score, 28% from the critics, and the top critics is 21. Henry Cavill didn't have the ego about The Witcher. He had the Peter Jackson attitude with regards to Lord of the Rings, and as such, his influence on the show was an improvement, and the moment he's not involved, it goes to ass. The examples where people are humble, where they see something greater than themselves, where they like something, and so simply want to translate it from one medium to another as accurately as possible, they're the ones that make the good work. They're the ones that have a positive influence. The ones with ego, the ones with narcissism, the ones who make it about themselves, all have a negative impact on the shows. Because quite frankly, you're just not that interesting. You're not good enough at your job to realize how bad at your job you are. You're so obsessed with yourself, so unable to even imagine a concept outside of your own head, to put yourself in somebody else's position, that you think you're the main character, that you think you're the main person in the world. So why wouldn't everybody want to watch something about you? You're amazing. Everybody wants to see your face. You're the best actor around. You definitely have more than one expression.
There are no archives on the origin of the Spartan program.
Why not?
How on earth could anyone empathize with an emotional character without seeing your face? Your incredibly expressive face.
Collected, cataloged, and filed for instant retrieval.
Great.
What's that? We're changing the powers? That's okay. That was made by somebody else. This is made by me, and I'm amazing. I'm going to make her powers all about her ancestors. Because I really like her ancestors, I'm going to make the entire show about their culture. Because it really interests me. And you never stop to think, is this even interesting to anybody else? Their egos are so massive, they don't stop to think about anybody else. They don't stop to think about the audience. The people with money. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to them whether the show's a success or not. They still get paid, and it's not going to impact their career. So why should they try? Why should they make any effort to go and consider somebody else's opinion? If that's even physically possible for them to do, to actually consider somebody else's opinion. Because I was born this way, and that makes me important. That's how I got this job. My success was guaranteed from birth. This is the attitude of the progressive. Every single person throughout all of history is thick, was wrong. Everything they did, their collective wisdom that went through the ages and iteratively improved to the state we are now, that needs to be thrown out, forgotten, because I'm me, because I know better than every single other person who has ever lived combined. History would have been such a better place if I existed throughout all of it. Everything they got wrong, I just know instinctively. Haven't you seen how great I was? I was born like this. It's my destiny. This is what I mean when I say I don't see how Hollywood can turn it around. Because these ideas are at the core of Hollywood. It's what they believe. It's how they act. It's what they think. It's everything that the people are. It's everything that they value. And they're incapable of valuing anything that came from the past, which means they're incapable of valuing any IP that they will ever be given. And you combine ego with looking down on others, and you will end up with every show always being about them, their self-inserts, their face, them being on the screen, and they'll think that it's better for it. And the only way you're going to fix that is by going back to business roots. If somebody makes a product which is crap, then you don't get them to make another one. But when you've hard-coded into your industry that the more checks boxes somebody has, the better person they are, and that firing them would actively be discrimination, then pray tell me, Hollywood, How are you going to dig yourself out of that one? Because much like Echo's car crash with the glass in her leg, the only way any of this makes sense is if it's a self-inflicted wound. Because anyone else with even a modicum of business experience would have solved this problem a long, long time ago and never doubled down on it as often as you have. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.